You are tuned in to a Fireside chat with Zany Mystic. Join us now on another exciting metaphysical journey. Relax, tune in, drop out, and take a seat by the fire as we explore new realms and possibilities. This is Magenta Pixie. You can find me at magentapixie.weebly.com. But now, here is Zany Mystic and guest. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, and welcome to a Fireside Chat with Zany Mystic. I'm your host, Lance White. Today, we have a special New Year's Eve show with returning guest, Inelia Benz. In January of 2010, Inelia received a request from Source to go public. The first thing she did was to establish an information source at www.ascension101.com. Many have been deeply moved and triggered by the paradigm-shifting video first released through Project Avalon, which quickly became an internet sensation. Since, she has continued to work behind the scenes with other lightworkers and public figures to raise the vibration of the planet. She has a unique perspective, having entered our density directly, outside the usual incarnational processes, to assist in raising our collective vibration as we go through many shifts that are coming. So, let's welcome Inelia to the show now. Hi, Inelia, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, thank you.
Oh, good. Well, thank you for joining us on this momentous day when we say adios to 2011 and usher in the new year of 2012.
Oh, you're welcome. And it was a last minute thing, wasn't it?
Well, yes, like literally last night.
Yes. I think it's a brilliant
Isn't
thing.
that amazing how Spirit works? We don't have to think about anything. We just kind of go with the flow.
Yes, indeed.
Well, I thought it might be kind of interesting to go to take a little journey back in time, maybe even before you incarnated, to find out if you were aware as spirit or soul before you took on this incarnation. And did you select your parents? Did you speak with your mother before coming in? Or is this a joint process of finding the best the best fit for your task here?
That's really interesting because I didn't have any of those experiences, although I do know and I have seen that other people have had those. I actually came in just before the baby was born, the actual body was born. And when I came in, it was like I came into the planet, and I remember seeing like flowing through on top of the water towards the hospital lights going into one of the rooms, and there was a birthing going on, and I could see the body intelligence waiting for the body to separate from the mother's body, so that it wasn't actually here. I could see that he could animate the new baby girl body. And what came very clear to me at the time was like I would speak as we because I didn't have a personal identity as a singularity. We requested the body to stay because the body was meant to die a few minutes after birth. There was some damage to the liver and the heart and the baby, and it wasn't going to survive. And so the body was asked, listen, can you stay? Because it was a very evolved, high vibrational, it was at the end of its evolutionary path as a physical, at this density body. And it actually accepted out of a sense of duty because it was tired, it was finished its journey, and it was ready to go. It just needed that last little bit of lifetime to finish whatever it was, right, that it had to do. And so it accepted, and we picked the body now so it would survive, it would live. And then I joined with the body, and that was the first sense of singularity that I had. I then become an I rather than we. And it was like I didn't know what to do. I had no idea how a body functioned, how you function within a body or anything. And it took a while. I think probably a few days or weeks or even months, I don't really know, for the body to get through to me that it wasn't a computer. It wasn't there to be programmed by me, as it were, or given instructions. We had to learn how to function together.
Wow.
Because the humanity, a human being is like a symbiotic relationship between a body being and a soul being. That's why we are not our bodies, right? But their bodies and us resonate very closely, and we work together very, very well.
Yeah.
And we evolve together as well.
Huh.
And so here was this body. It was like, you know, like a racehorse, like a $100 million racehorse. And here was somebody who's never ridden a horse before. So it was kind of crazy at first, but it taught me that each relationship between body and soul has to be a mutual learning of how to function together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that made things much easier after that. But yeah, I don't have any insight or recollection. I don't have any kind of seeing about if there was a human soul that was meant to be in that body before I came in. I don't see it. Maybe it had left before because it was about to die, or maybe it never came in. I really don't know, because I never actually saw it. And with regards to my mother, I also had I have a knowing that particular body was chosen due to its genetic material, coming from two very psychic, very able lineages on my mother's side and my father's side. And so it was ideal, but I presume, I really don't know, that if the body being had decided not to host me, then maybe there would have been another body, or maybe I would have gone back to source. I don't know.
Interesting. Now, when you came into the body, apparently you said that there was liver and heart damage and other problems that would have caused the body to die. What happened to those?
Well, they were repaired enough for me to live in the body, for the body to survive. And the body was also made slightly less dense at a genetic level, a DNA level. But I actually did have a heart condition growing up, and up until I was 18 years old, which was severe enough that I was told that I wasn't going to be able to have any babies because my heart wouldn't be able to take it. But that's, at the time, I was really shocked because I'd already had a miscarriage and I really wanted this baby.
Yeah.
And I was married, and we were planning to have a family right away. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to fix this. And it just happened overnight, really. I just looked into, I don't really know the process exactly how to describe it, but it was like looking into one's body, finding the right genetic material, the healthy one, and reconstructing it at a physical atom level into the new healthy heart that worked perfectly well. And I did that, and I went back to the hospital because they were calling me back saying, you're going to have an abortion. You're not going to survive the birth or the labor. So they were really, really pushing for me to have an abortion and then to have my tubes tied, so I wouldn't get pregnant again. And so I went back and I said, no, I can have my baby now. My heart is perfectly fine. And they were looking at me like I was like crazy or something, because these people had been looking after me and my condition for years, right? And as a teenager, I was in Nottingham, and I used to have to go into hospital every 6 months or something, every month to start with, and every 6 months after that. And so my heart specialist, he said, no, you have to be realistic or whatever, blah blah. And I said, no, honestly, I'm all better now. And eventually they humored me, and they checked my heart with their whatever, that little listening thing. I can't remember the name of it. And then the first doctor was kind of really puzzled and handed it to the other one. And he listened, and he was really puzzled. And he said, I think we're going to bring you back to have the, whatever test they want, the big one, when they stick you with all sorts of electrodes and they put you in a machine.
Oh, yeah, right. And
so they did that, and they came back and said, oh, we don't know how it happened, but yes, you have a perfectly healthy, normal heart. So it was kind of cool, and it's like that. I mean, and I think when other people ask me because they have a physical condition or an illness or something, how do I do that? How do I get to do that? And all I can say is that it's like being completely knowing that that's the only option, and you're not going to accept any other option. There's no other option. It's like black and white, There's no gray. There's no doubt. There's no fear. There's nothing. It's just, this is the way it's going to be. And it is.
What was it like growing up for you? Now, when you came in, according to what you said in the past, you didn't have any previous incarnations, so apparently there was no reference point in terms of lifetimes of learning this and that and the other thing. What was it like growing up, and what were some of the unusual experiences you had?
Yeah, growing up, I think up to the age of 4, well, there was a couple of things with regards to my personal life that were kind of difficult. There was a lot of physical and psychological pain growing up as an infant and as a young child. And then it went into a social level where there was a military coup in Chile, and my parents were taken and we were left homeless. And, so there was a lot of chaos and a lot of pain as a human being, right, growing up. But the other side was that I really had no knowing of how to be a singularity. I didn't know how to be a single human being. So I would basically go into people's minds and converse with them there, and you would freak out.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody was sensitive enough to hear me, that is,
Right.
And then, of course, for me, it was like I didn't really have any problem merging or becoming other people, being them while they were there. I was like floating around from body to body, and then it was my mother once that said, don't look into that man's mind. It's bad manners, right? Because she knew what I was doing. Because, both my mother and father were from that type of lineage. They knew these things, but even though they didn't accept them themselves, they actually knew they existed, like disabilities and things.
Right.
And, and I think I did stop to a great extent doing that from that moment onward. Not so much because of what she said, but there was a huge amount of fear behind her words, the energy of fear that actually stopped me. And I think the fear had to do both from her perspective of she didn't want me to see what could be perhaps in a man's mind, right?
Right.
Because I was so young. And on the other side, there's also, I think, a kind of global fear of invasion of privacy, of one's own privacy. There's a sense within singularity, and this is very much bombarded to us at every level, that we have to be extremely private, that we have to keep our thoughts to ourselves. And I think it's very much part of the paradigm of divide and conquer. Because in my experience, privacy doesn't really exist. It's not real. We're all connected. We all communicate. We as a species are about communication. We love to communicate. Our bodies love to communicate, We connect.
And also, doesn't everything that we think, feel, and do go into the collective, and it's also recorded in the Akashic records?
Exactly, and then anybody can tap into it.
Right. So, I mean, if there's an indelible, permanent, infinite record of every thought and mood and thing that we've done, so it's kind of an illusion to think that we're hiding our private life. There is no such thing as a private life.
No, there isn't.
Not really. So, is there anything else that was remarkable about your growing up that you'd like to share with us before we move on into present time?
Well, I had to really learn. I think it was different to most people because for me it was learning to or trying to adapt to the sense of importance, for example, that most individuals have about their own survival, about their own life, about what they're doing, about their actions, about their bodies, about surviving, about just about everything. A person has a huge amount of importance of the self, and as a singular person and as an individual. And I didn't have that. And lots of the time I tried to adapt it, but I found that whenever I tried to, whether it was important to fall in love or something, very, really basic stuff. Whenever I did try to go that way, it was a very, it would take my whole attention, so it was distracting. It's extremely distracting. Mm-hmm. And secondly, I really couldn't get into it. I would pretend it, I would pretend it was important. But at the end of the day, it really wasn't for me. Because I really never really had a sense of me as a being. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes back to the fact that I've never had those incarnations. I never had that build-up. I don't have an evolutionary journey to worry about, mm-hmm. Or think about or concentrate on. I'm not interested in having experiences or a human experience. It's interesting, yes. And mm-hmm. obviously it's necessary because for me to be able to do this job, I had to be born as a human being. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. I am a human being in this lifetime. But it's extremely alien to me.
Well, it's alien to a lot of us, let me tell you.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And there are quite a few people who are part alien. There are alien hybrids out there probably listening to the show right now. So, yes. Whatever your genetic makeup or whatever planetary system you come from, welcome.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Did you have a sense of your destiny when you were young? I know you went into spiritual pursuits and you studied Buddhism for quite a while. You taught. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I had a sense of what I had to do, but it was very much like trying to describe the flavor of peach. It's impossible without the words of somebody showing you and giving you a peach to eat. It's really hard to put it into words. Uh-huh. I knew a couple of things. I knew that people had to stop suffering, and I knew that everything had to buzz better. It had to be happier somehow. Those are the childish words that I could come up with at the time, and it wasn't until relatively recently that I had the vocabulary to express that all we had to do was to raise the vibrational level of ourselves on the planet. Mm-hmm. And the fastest way to do it was to process our fear. So I had the two things that I learned about. It's like a lot of people are here just to channel the higher vibrations from their place of origin, for example. Uh-huh. So they channel that energy right into the planet by incarnating as a human being. As we are human beings, we are part of the collective, otherwise we wouldn't be able to do it. And, but I honestly didn't have the vocabulary, I didn't have the tools, I didn't know what to do, so I read tons of books, I practiced Buddhism. Later on, I joined a cult to see how those worked and how they managed to do things there, and all sorts of different things. Studying, I looked at the pagan religions. I love the pagan religions.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
And so there's loads of things, and I found tools and things that were really useful in each of them. One of the things that did not resonate with me, or in any teachings that says we have the only answer, mm-hmm, will to me be wrong. Mm-hmm, or anybody who says in order to become enlightened or whatever, or saved, you have to come to me and I'll do it for you. That's also wrong, as far as I'm concerned. That's old paradigm. Mm-hmm. It's not something that we can use to move into the new paradigm. Right. Although it does have its role, and lots of people, it's an honorable journey, but it's not our journey. No, it's not the new paradigm journey.
Right. Now, then since that time, you've been working privately with individuals and with other lightworkers and wayshowers for many years behind the scenes. What was it that shifted for you in January of 2010?
The main thing that happened now 2 years ago, it was simply a request from Source asking me to go public. And I thought about it because I did actually have material out there, and I would actually work, use the internet to contact people and help people and things like that. But the main difference was that it was really hard to contact me. My website only had the information. There wasn't like a contact form, or if there was, it was very, standard. My name was tiny. It was probably down the bottom on the copyright section. Mm-hmm. So all the information was there, but there was no face, there was no person behind them. And that's the main change that I was asked to do. Mm-hmm. I was asked to go public as a person, put myself out there as Inelia Benz, and as a human being, as a mother, as a wife, as a friend, and show the message, speak the message from my perspective, from a human perspective, and from my odd perspective, from being a human that's rather odd. And so I thought about it for a few days, and I wondered, I researched it, and I thought, yeah, I can do that. So I went ahead, I started the website, ascension11.com. I put there the articles that had been coming through before that. I put them there, and some other stuff, and I've been putting more and more information there anytime that I try something new, because when people say, look at this is great, it does this, and that, what I do, I experiment on myself. I try it out.
Right.
It resonates. I try it out, and if it works for me, then I will put it onto the website. And,
Exactly. Yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Too many times I've shared my thoughts or written something, and then the next day I'm hit in the face with it. So now I test out my own information before I share it.
Yes, exactly. But it's tested.
Right.
And even if you want to share it, say, look, I'm going to try this to see if it works.
Right, exactly. This is an experiment, and we don't know.
Right now.
They don't all work the way that we intend
right.
them to. So now, one question I think is going to be important for people to hear. I know a lot of people are going to be wondering this because you have mentioned that you come in directly from Source, and there is so much confusion about what Source is, the creator, the goddess, Gaia, Sophia, the planetary logos. There's a solar logos, there's a galactic, and it goes on and on and on. And so we also know that there are sources that are negative that are running programs like Jehovah and Yahweh, who are basically running this show in this dark sector, this fallen sector, and who have artificial ascended masters who can show up, and light beings from the Nordics and this one and that one. So just to address this for everybody's questioning, how do you define Source that you feel that you are coming from?
I would define it as the infinite potentiality of existence that's beyond the matrix, beyond reality as we know it.
Okay.
So it's before the stage of the journey that I made, that I described slightly beforehand, was from not being in that state of divine potentiality, which is what I call Source, and then becoming the entire existence of universe. That's the first singularity, that's the first separation. And then it separates again into universes, and then again into galaxies and planetary systems and planets and all those things. And within those, there's sentient beings and everything else, and there's deities, and there's different type of sources. Like you mentioned, Gaia, for example, has been Source as well. Indeed, she is, and the collective and Gaia are united at a different level as one, and that's where the call came from. The call to manifest in physical human form came from, and to also get all these people to incarnate in the planet from other planets and dimensions. Came from Gaia and the collective consciousness as a unit, and also as a planetary unit. It came in, and then it extended outwards into other planetary units and other systems, because what happens here on this planet, in this timeline today, or well, not today, but in the next 100 or so years, and has been happening for the last 100 or so years also, is going to affect not just our planet, but probably every planet on this sector of the galaxy. And so that's where the call came from here, and most of my work is requested at that type of level, a Gaia collective level. But the source that I identify coming from would be that potentiality for existence.
Now, what is it that has gone a little bit awry on this planet? There's so much talk about the forces of limitation and the last 5,100 years being run by the patriarchy and the negative forces that are basically trying to halt our evolution and are actually actively working to stop us from realizing our own divine nature. Is that part of what we are breaking through at this time? And is that part of what the call was about?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things the call was about, okay, we're kind of stuck, let's, give us a hand.
Right.
And that's why so many people have incarnated here from other planets,
Right. Well, yes, because, it seems like if we're impacting other parallel realms and dimensions that, there would be a great interest in this planet. Also because, there are future timelines that we might be affecting as well. So,
right.
This is a kind of an opportunity for a turning point, is it not, at 2011, 2012, 2013?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. The planet is going through a special part of the, time-space, part of the galaxy or whatever, that allows for huge jumps in evolution to occur.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the planet itself has already done it. She moved into the new her new dimensional level, or a level of awareness last August. So that's when it gelled, right?
Okay.
And she's just waiting for us each to
tapping her fingers on the desk.
yeah. She's very patient. She's very loving. She wants to take as many of us as possible with her,
Right. So do you feel that the collective is headed? Where do you feel it is collectively? Where do you feel that we're headed as a collective as we cross over from 2011 to 2012?
Well, I am very positive about it. I'm very optimistic. The fact that there's so much awakening happening right now, and the realization, I think more and more people are realizing that what happens out there, what happens even at the weather level, is really much dictated by what happens inside of us, right? If people have been talking about and doing and using tools as groups for years and years and years, probably thousands of years. And even nowadays you hear about the transcendental meditation groups that move into inner cities to do meditation, and then all of a sudden the crime rate lowers and everything starts going well. And also Buddhist monks travel the world. They set up a base camp in different, again, troubled cities or areas. Even if it's like geographical areas that have trouble with earthquakes and things, or cities where they have crime and things, it doesn't really matter at what level the problem is. They move in, they do their meditations for a few months, and then everything starts to balance and settle down.
Is it possible that there will be numerous timelines that will be separating as we head into 2012 and 2013?
It's possible. Obviously, at a certain level, we have as many lifelines as we have human beings.
Right.
But as a collective, I really only see two. One of them, which already separated last August, with the people who want to continue an evolutionary journey as, disempowered at a physical and soul level, and the ones that want to move on to a more empowered level. And there's nothing wrong with either. There's no judgment. They're just so different that we can't share the same planet anymore, the same dimension.
Well, now, what about, we know about so much that's going on underneath the radar that is designed to gradually enslave us. I mean, we have the elite that are pulling the strings with trillions of dollars floating around outside the normal currency exchanges, various bloodlines controlling the way the planet goes with wars and murders, and the mafia is involved, and the corrupt politicians, the chemtrails, the acceleration of technology and wars and things like that. are we going to, is one of the, what's going to happen to that paradigm as people wake up and realize that what we do to another, we're doing to ourselves?
Well, I think it's just going to fizzle out into nothing.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I wish they knew that.
Yeah, basically what's happening is that all those people and all those powers and all that destruction, wars and chemtrails and all those things that are happening are being done by individuals who are our own shadow. They are our own fear, right, as a species. We have manifested them because we're afraid. So what solutions is there? We process our fear.
Right.
We process our fear and they'll fizzle into nothing, you know. They'll just vanish, disappear, go away, morph into light. They have two options right now. All individuals who want to continue that game, they have two options. They either morph into light or leave. They don't have any other options, really.
That is such a big relief to hear that, because I know a lot of us have been feeling as if we're pushing a stone uphill for years and years.
Oh, yeah, it's been a long call.
Yeah, and our shoulders are getting tired, our bodies ache, our spirits are a little bit shattered, or tabs, shabby looking. They need a facelift. And so it's really refreshing to hear you say that we can see an end to this as we release our own fears, and that in turn creates a ripple or a wave which ripples back and forth throughout time.
Yeah, it does. And that's the reason why these people have a fear machine going full blast at the moment.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to survive, you know?
Yeah.
They know that once fear leaves our species, we won't be able to function here anymore.
That's right. That's right. That's right. What do you think that the planet was originally intended to be? Do you think that this is a timeline that deviated from the divine blueprint?
No, I don't think it did. I think that many of the collective thought it was a good idea at the time.
Little did we know.
Yes. But yes, the shift, and in other timelines the shift has happened very, very smoothly, much faster, much more empowering from decades ago. And this one is lagging behind a lot. And there was a moment in time that I didn't know if we were going to make it, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And but it's looking good. I mean, once the decision was taken, really, and all these people incarnated here, and including myself, there's no going back. There's no way to stop it. It's going to happen, you know.
Right.
It's baby steps. It's going slowly, but it's happening. But the sense of this is taking so long is universal for us, because it has been hijacked and elongated, and these people just want to live, you know. They want to live in their paradigm and they don't want to let go.
Well, when you're considered gods and you're feeding off of your source, you know, being us.
Yeah.
When we're their food, basically, yes, I can see why they take in all the forms of worship through all the religions and so on and so forth. So that's heady stuff, and I can see why it would be difficult if not impossible, to let that go. Yeah.
Although I have seen at least one of them release it all. You know, it's quite
yes, you had a very interesting experience with somebody who was of the dark, very dark, right?
Very, very dark. Yeah.
Darkest of the dark.
Yeah.
What was that like?
That was a really interesting experience. This is one of the type of work that I do sometimes, not always now. The more mystical side of my role here. Because when I work with somebody, I don't judge them as light or dark. If somebody wants to engage, I engage them, right? At that level. And now it's like an engagement at a collective level. That's why I don't really work with individuals as such anymore. But this person, this particular being, came to me and wanted to have engage with me, right? They wanted to have a book written about what they did here on the planet, because he considered himself the most powerful man on the planet, but nobody knew about it.
Wow.
he wanted others to know what he had done. And so I, at a astral or psychic or telepathic level, I had to he requested for me to write it. He wanted me to do it. And I kind of didn't want to hang out with this guy because he was really icky. Right. And, but eventually, through talking with some other people that I knew and getting some advice and also looking at it for a long time, I decided, no, this is something that I have to do. This is being requested from source. So I did hang out with him and we're writing the book and it was absolutely horrendous. And then I Googled this stuff to see if it was real, and it was, and I thought, oh my goodness, how can this happen, you know?
Yeah.
And that was my human side. My human side was judging, and my human side felt icky there. My human side did not want to hang out with him and all that side. Mm. But then at one point, I moved beyond all that human judgment and ego, because that was my own ego. Mm. And I went to visit him in his place, and I moved into his place. And it was complete darkness. It was complete evil. It was thick. Mm. And he was like sitting in a chair. It looked like a little bit like a throne. And I sat next to him and I just looked at him. I didn't judge. I didn't feel any fear. I didn't feel any compassion. I felt nothing. I was just there. Mm-hmm. Just there looking. Mm-hmm. And he tried to stare me down, because that's what they do at that level. They stare each other down with power and stuff. And and I didn't. I just, I simply was there. I was simply there, and it was very much like, oh, this is what evil feels against the skin type thing. There was no judgment, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden, and this took me by a huge surprise, he requested clemency.
Wow.
It was really amazing. And as soon as he did that, I moved out of the way, and this huge amount of love and light came through me and into him.
Wow.
And he was transformed right in front of my eyes, from being this huge dark being into being light. The most purest of light. And I was whoa! And I was out of there because my job was done. It was completed, and I was out. And as soon as I got out and back into my human ego, I went, how dare, how come he gets that, and all these people are doing lots of work, they don't get it. He should have been murdered and tortured and blah blah after what he did and all that stuff. But it only lasted a few minutes or seconds, I think, all that judgment and ego stuff.
Yeah.
And then he went away, and I understood, I understood that the way for transformation to happen is that simple. We don't engage at that level.
Yes.
We're just there. We just provide that light. We don't defend. We don't fight back. We don't engage at their level anymore. It's not, that time is over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a very powerful lesson, because so many people are taking up causes today and are being drawn in and divided and basically controlled and manipulated by fighting this and fighting that and corrupt Wall Street and this and that and the other thing. And as I understand it, one of the reasons that we're here, one of the strongest things we can do is to just be with our highest energy, and that is what allows the flow. And there is not a necessity, unless you feel it or are called to engage in any individual battles, unless it's right in front of your face.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if somebody punches you in the face.
Right.
It's really hard not to punch them back.
Right. Yes. Of course.
Yeah. But the right answer actually is not to punch them back.
Well, that goes back to turning the other cheek again, and the idea.
Yeah, it's kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. An allowance.
Yeah. Stopping them, though, because one of the things that I learned was at a physical life level, if somebody tries to hurt me at a physical level or psychological level, or one of my children or my family, I stop them. I don't defend and I don't attack, but I stop them. I stop them in various methods. If somebody's punching, I will grab them and I will hold them so they can't punch any longer. or if they are, being abusive or whatever, I remove them from the house.
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem is if you allow them to continue their abuse, you're adding that karmic weight between the two of you, right?
Right.
So the first step I always say is stop, say no. No. And sometimes that's all you need to do. You just face them and say, no, that's not allowed in my space, or no, I will not allow that in my life,
Right.
And sometimes you just have to be, because if it's a person that you're close to, you say, I'm sorry, but you're not allowed in my environment anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And once you stop them, then you can not engage them at other levels. You can always send them light and love, right?
Right.
Because that's what we're made of. That's the basic communication at a human level. But I wouldn't expect them to suddenly transform and become enlightened or love and, be nice all of a sudden. Because these are individuals who have been on the planet for perhaps thousands of lifetimes or on other planets, but they have a history, they have karma, they have egos, they have all sorts of things that they have to work through, and they haven't finished that evolutionary process yet.
Right. And that will continue on beyond this. Yes, yes.
But it's important for you, one, not to allow them to hurt us.
Right, right. And also, that kind of helps me to further clarify the value of saying no, that there's a difference between allowance and knowing what you are not going to permit.
Exactly, yeah. And for all these individuals, and that includes myself, who do not agree, for example, with what's happening at a financial level or a global level,
right.
Let's not take part in that.
Right.
And that kind of fills the body with fear, because if you move out of the financial system, it means how are you going to eat? How are you going to pay your rent? How are you going to pay your bills?
Mm-hmm.
It brings all that up. So, so if you can't do it that way, what can you do at this very moment that will say no to that system? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And look at it, because a lot of the time when people take courses and go to the streets and start, protesting, that's a way of saying, no, we don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
But have they done that with their own personal life first?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because all these debts and all these things, there's people paying who got into debt themselves.
That's right. That's right.
It wasn't the government forcing them to get into debt.
That's right.
They decided to buy that car. They decided to buy that house.
Yes, exactly.
And then there's the dependency on the job structure. And I think that a financial system change is coming because the collective has moved beyond the debt system, has moved beyond the 9-to-5 job and the slavery.
Yes.
But it's going to take, I think, a few more years for it to manifest at a social level. Mm-hmm. But it's coming. I've seen it. I've seen many people, and there's even towns and stuff who have adopted their own financial monetary system, and it works.
Right, right.
When people take responsibility and say, okay, I'm going to do it, and see, maybe there's other people around me who want to do it too. Let's have a look and let's investigate. Let's join and create something new rather than just fight against the old.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense, and I do know people that are doing that. I'm doing it myself to the extent possible, and I envision a future where there is no money, and of course that could be within my lifetime, but I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see how long that lasts. But where we aren't using, like you said, we're not reliant upon being slaves and to the debt system any longer.
Right.
So. There are going to be a lot of permutations since there's a major attempt to consolidate power into, what people are concerned about the New World Order movement. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's a lot of talk in New Age and other circles about coming events in 2012, such as financial collapse and something major happening in March, and that that there's something that will be involving the banks and the collateralized debt obligations that people are using to make money on Wall Street. So do you have any sense of what's coming in terms of this coming year with finances and earth changes and solar flares and all of that? I mean, what's your feeling about it?
My personal feeling is that if we do our job properly, if we raise our personal vibration and work on the collective every single day, the transition is going to be extremely smooth for the next few years. There's not going to be any drama. Everything's going to be the designs of the new agreed reality, whether it's with energy exchange or whether it's about living conditions, weather, or anything else. It's going to be extremely smooth if we all do our processing our fears, personal fears, and then processing the collective fears. Now, at the end of the day, though, it's going to be a collective consensus. What happens on the planet has to do with what people, the majority, agree on. Mm-hmm. That's how it goes.
The majority rules.
And basically, we have to honor that. We have to honor the fact that the majority, say for example, the majority of the population chooses not to awaken. Then we have to honor that. But that's not happening, actually. I see awakening happening all over the planet, and I see people who one would never expect to be even remotely interested in stuff and learning about stuff. So it's going that way. And how do we transform all the logistics, right? Because we do love to have comfort. We do love to have beautiful homes. We do love to have beautiful transportation, like cars and things, hopefully without oil.
Right, free energy.
Yeah, and we love to spend our time communicating, researching, or doing whatever it is that brings us passion in our lives.
That's right.
Those are human experiences. This is what we came here to do. So we can either do it in a very smooth and beautiful and filled with joy way as a species, or we can kind of break into it through drama and all sorts of other stuff, right?
Right.
And but the fear thing, it's really to do with those who are afraid. And even some of the listeners right now might be afraid of saying, well, if we all raise our vibration level, we can all manifest wherever we want at any moment, because that's what happens when you raise your vibrational level.
Uh-huh.
Then they become afraid of, what happens if somebody, in my family or in my neighbor manifests something that I don't like, And it's kind of that's the fear.
Right.
That's where fear comes from, because they don't see the full picture.
Right.
That once a person manifests their reality, they themselves manifest the reality they want. If it's not compatible with their neighbor, then the neighbor will not longer be there. Or in their neighbor's reality, they will no longer be there. They'll move away, or, they have an opportunity elsewhere, and they'll go there. And it's all quite wonderful, I think. The last 2 years, there was a lot of people who told me that they were finding that their relationships were breaking down, and they were meeting new people, new friends, and they were moving into new environments, new groups, new locations, and that resonated a lot better for them. And they were saying there was a feeling that this was negative because everything's breaking down, But it was just a dissolving before realignment. It's like two groups that they had like rock and roll and classical music playing in the same room, and it was chaos and horrible, and nobody liked it. And all of a sudden there were two rooms, and in one room there was rock and roll playing, and in the other room there was classical music playing, and people who loved one or the other went to the different rooms, and people who loved both took turns. And it's beautiful, because then both can be really enjoyed to the full extent of their beauty.
Right.
So it's not about, this group is better than your group, my group, your group. No, it's not like that at all. It's not understand. It's just different, and it resonates different, and people are being drawn into places and locations and people they resonate with.
Well, it does seem that religions have caused so much division, and of course that's an intentional process from the top down. So do you see those people starting to awaken to what's going on and reclaiming their own personal power rather than giving it away to an intermediary?
I think that there's both. There's still a lot of people on the planet who need to have that intermediate. And those are the people who will continue their evolutionary journey needing that intermediate and giving away their power. And that's fine, because that's their higher self who have chosen that for them, right?
Right.
But there's so many people now that don't want that anymore. That's like kindergarten. They want to move on.
Right.
They want to eventually go to university and graduate.
Right.
And so this is what's happening on the planet. We're making it into the new class, the new experience, the more expanded, more empowered, let's see what we can do type of experience.
Well, and we're not the first people who have ever been here in a great period of advanced civilization. In fact, if anything, we're at the lowest ebb as far as I can tell. If you look back at the Egyptian pyramids and the sacred sites, which are all over the world on various points that are chosen for their magnetic resonance and their power. The civilizations previously have been quite advanced. So a lot of civilizations have risen and fallen on this planet, and it seems that we're about due for this is about as dark as it gets as far as I can tell. Seems like it's about time for it to turn around.
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't put it in those words exactly, because the way I see it is that at different time periods, the collective became split, right? Split into two. The ones that wanted to continue on that more physical, more solid path, and those who wanted to move on to do something else. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we are at the moment. Because at the same time as being the darkest period in history that we know, it's also the most filled with light. That we have ever known. Because there had never been so many healers, so many awakened people, so many people who are wanting to share and wanting to manifest on the planet that we know of before. And there's so much compassion. I remember I saw a little YouTube of a person who just listed all the organizations that he had found who were working for Gaia, for the planet. Right? They were charities and eco programs and all sorts of things. People getting together, organizing to improve the planet. And there were millions. And I thought, oh my God, that was so inspiring. So yeah, if you listen to the dark side and look at the news and all the fear machine, you would think that it was the darkest time period.
Right, that's true.
But it actually isn't.
Yeah, right.
There's so much light.
Yeah.
There's so much light right now on the planet that is making those people who want the fear and who want the darkness scramble for survival, and they're terrified, and they're doing everything they can to hold on to what they have, but it's impossible.
Well, I guess it's going to continue to get a little hotter on the planet Earth for them.
It does. Yeah.
We may be like frogs in a boiling pot, but I think the fireworks are outside in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Now, I know that there's no particular savior or energy that's going to swoop down. A lot of people believe that they'll be lifted with ships and ET family and various other things that are going to be happening. But one thing that does intrigue me is something that was in one of Robert Cox's books about the pillars of celestial fire, that there may be some kind of cosmic event that is on the horizon that involves the incoming of they're like pillars of celestial energies, very intense energies that have transformative powers that pull up or invigorate the divine energies within all matter. Do you see something like that coming in the future?
Well, what I've seen when I look into the future, I do see a planet that is more light. There's like a reverence towards individuals at that level in the future from me now. And but I have known that the solar system, is going to do a location in space that is very high vibrational, but vibrationally very high. And it moves in, it's not going to be just 1 year, but it's been like a few decades now. It's been moving in slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And it will take a while before it goes right through it into its own full intensity and out again. And I think that's the period of opportunities, like catching a wave, right? Catching the evolutionary wave. They will be made available for all those who want to take the wave. But if you want to stay on the beach and just watch everybody or other people catching that wave, so you want to stay on the beach, that's allowable too, because there's free will. You're not going to be forced to evolve if you don't want to.
Very well said. It looks like we might be coming up towards the end of the hour.
Oh,
and
no way.
So, I could go on for another hour easily. It's so much fun talking to you, Inelia.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is there something that you'd like to share with us, since this is a momentous time and this is the last show in my 6 years of doing this, of 2011, and tomorrow will be 2012. Is there anything you'd like to say before we go, and also mention your website and so people can find you?
Yes, my website is ascension101.com. There's lots of tools and information there that you can use. And I suppose my words for this year would be to process any fear that comes up with regards to 2012. Any fear that comes up at all with regards to 2012, or about the financial system, or about your job, or anything at all, process it. Or the full text for the fear processing exercise that I use, and it's very, very good. I highly recommend it. It's on the website under the tool section. You go in there and the full text is right there. Use it. It's there to be used, and it's very powerful.
Wonderful. And I'd like to mention, too, that you have had two wonderful gatherings that you've hosted. They're called meet and greets. And the first one was in Grass Valley, and it was a beautiful event. Just wonderful people, and the energy was extremely high. And it was an opportunity to spend time with you and to do processes and the rest of it. It's a wonderful experience. And you just had one in Santa Barbara, which I was fortunate enough to attend also.
That was great, yeah.
Yes, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. So I highly recommend those events, and you have videos of those events on your website.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Yes. Just before we go, do you have any personal vision for your own life as you go into 2012?
I see probably this year, establishing a center here in California. And I also have always been requested by Source to write a book, which I have to have finished by March. So I'm writing like 1,000 to 2,000 words a day now to get it done.
Wow. Wonderful. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, that should be fun.
Well, that's terrific. Well, Inelia, thank you for coming back, and you'll be back again, I know. And Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, Lance. I love you.
I love you too. And Happy New Year to all the wonderful people out there that hear this tonight, today, tomorrow, and in the past.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.